All right. So, hi again, class. Now we are going to have school age part two. So, again, my name is Miss Celine from the Psychology Department of Trinity University of Asia. And right now we are going to talk about the second part of the school age. So in our previous presentation, we were able to talk about the introduction and also the developmental theories about the school age. So right now we are going to talk about the physical and motor growth. Now let's go to it. So right now, focusing on their physical and motor, I'm going to read it one by one, and I'm also gonna discuss it bullet by bullet. So first is the exfoliation of temporary teeth, eruption of permanent teeth. So what does this mean? So during the ages of 6 to 12, their teeth, that's why we have the term milk teeth. This is the time where the concept of also the tooth fairy is rampant at this age. Is because of that, because children are now losing their temporary teeth, and then the starting of their new teeth actually begun. So again, the detached temporary teeth sometimes greatly affect how a child interact with others. Example, a child might not smile anymore and might be hesitant in attending school, afraid of getting bullied. So some children are now losing a lot of teeth at the same time. So that's why their self-esteem is also affected during at this age. Again, like what I've mentioned in my previous presentation, is that they actually focuses on their self-esteem and how they gonna perform better and make friends in school. So that's why losing teeth at the same time actually affects their self-esteem in the long run during their school age years. Development of sinuses. So in our skull, we actually have sinuses. When I say sinuses, these are actually spaces in the skull where air might enter. And yeah, so the development and the maturity of the sinuses actually begun in this age. Lymphoid tissue develop into adult size. So this is actually lymphoid tissue is actually part of the immune system. So actually some children develop infections at this age, and they might skip school sometimes. That also affect their what they call this their self-esteem in the long run. So lymphoid tissue is very important to maintain the immune system of the children. Rapid bone growth. I'm sorry, rapid bone growth. And also, if you've noticed, during this age, 6 to 12 years old, this is the time of circumcision to boys. So that's why we have the concepts like natulian na siya, so tatangkad na siya. But actually, at this age, circumcision doesn't have anything to do with their height. This is the time where children actually tries. Their bone actually develops, and some children are actually fortunate enough to have a fairly good height at a young age, but others don't. Typically, this is the rapid bone growth. This is the time where bones are now being developed. Please remember that I've mentioned in our discussion when we are meeting face to face. I've mentioned that not everything in our bone when we were given birth are complete. So this is the time where some of the bone structures are now being completed. All right, so sexual maturation actually starts in here. So for women, or for our female bodies, we have the breast budding and the growth of the penis in males. So in here, like what I've mentioned, that's why some girls are now wearing baby bras, and also some of the males are now starting to consider circumcision. This is the part where those things actually happen. Well, just the beginning, and yeah. Improvement of neuromotor control. So in here, that's what I've mentioned in my previous presentation. That's why children are now being involved in taekwondo, joining sports, being very good in playing, patintero, and many more. It's because they are now, they have a very good control now in their neuromotor movements. So they are now learning techniques, learning to play guitar, and many more. Their neuromotor movements are now being developed greatly. So that's why this is also the best stage or the best time where you can develop different skills. And then slowed brain growth, myelination is complete by 7 years old. So we have in the brain, in our nervous system, we have neurons. Like this was discussed already in your introduction to psychology. So we have neurons, the basic unit in our nervous system. So these neurons have what we have called the myelin sheaths. These myelin sheaths actually are the ones that helps the sensory, I mean the stimulus from our environment to be processed in our brain. However, the myelinization actually starts to complete by the seventh age. However, because of that, because it started to complete by that age, some of the brain growth actually slows down as well. Alright, so body habitus tends to remain relatively stable. So what we call body habitus is your type, your body type. So the endomorph, ectomorph, or mesomorph, or your body type is, like for example, if you tend to be slim, that actually remains. If you are a bit fatter, that actually remains. Or if you are a bit slimmer, whatever your body type is that endomorph, ectomorph, or mesomorph, that actually remains for the rest of your school age years. So that's why if you've noticed, there are actually some of the children who looks very thin for their age and very tall for them for their age, or are smaller for their age. Is that because of their body type? It's because of their body type tends to remain stable for the whole school age years. The muscular strength, coordination, and stamina increases. Like what I've mentioned a while ago in my previous discussion, that's why most of the children are now being involved in varsity or starting to join varsity for kids, taekwondo, ice skating, and many more. It's because its motor coordination are now being developed increasingly. They are now having this fast learner in terms of their skills, especially in sports. Ability to perform complex pattern movements. That's why what I've mentioned a while ago, is that this is the time where children now understands and now started to become tactical. They now start to do techniques in basketball, and many more. So this is the best time to actually explore that, and they actually now being creative on doing those techniques and tactics. Sedentary habits are associated with an increased risk of obesity and cardiovascular diseases. So that's why children at this age are being encouraged to actually play sports, and that's why there are advertisements in the television that during this age there is Milo every day, Tag or Alaska. So that's because of this, because this is the best time to actually let your child move, or let the children actually be involved in different activities. Because if they don't, cardiovascular diseases and also obesity is very high. So they're actually encouraged to join sports and actually make friends and do kid stuff and be like a kid, to actually avoid sedentary habits as well. Sexual organs are physically immature. So like what I've mentioned a while ago, the budding of the breast and the growth of the penis starts in here, but it's not yet mature. So, they're encouraged. The girls are encouraged to wear baby bras, and the boys are encouraged to have circumcision at the right time. So, if they have those, if for example, if the boys started to have circumcision at the later age, like for example, 14 years old, That's actually very hard to have a circumcision because I myself, I came from medical school and I've already started to circumcise some boys. And I've tried to circumcise a 14 years old boy and it's really hard. Yes, it's really hard and it's really hard to explain as well why. But that's why the sexual organ in here is immature, but those things are necessary to do. Alright, so masturbation is common. So in here, boys are now being explorative of their classmates and also specifically to the opposite sex. So erogenous zone for Freud is not evident in their physical aspect, but it's now evident to their friends and their schoolmates or classmates and or their teachers. And that's why the masturbation actually starts here, both for females and the males. So they are now starting to explore, watch. Some of them actually start to watch pornography at this age, and it's very common at this stage. Sexual experimentation in permissive societies are also evident. So they are now, like what I mentioned, they are now starting to watch porn with their porn, and they actually started, and it's actually normal at this age. So if you've started to watch porn at this age, it's actually normal, and it's because of the normal development, psychological development of a child. But if it's too much, of course, it's abnormal already. Now let's go and continue on the cognitive thinking and language. So the child develops increasingly complex ways to handle and process experiences to thinking that uses abstract and conceptual understanding. So I've mentioned this a while ago in my previous presentation that during the cognitive stage of Piaget is that they were able now to think logically. That's why it's called concrete operational. So now they are now thinking logically. They now understand how things works and what's the relationship and the consequences of those things in their environment specifically. So in their language, grammatical rules, aesthetics of language, puns, play on words, jokes, word games are now being evident. So they now know how to actually use funny words, and some children actually now understands what are curse words, and that's why parents, if you grew up in a very valued centered family, you are inhibited to actually use curse words. Like, yes, curse words. I think you already know that. They are actually encouraged not to say. And then also syntax employ complex sentences, conversation and discourse, narratives or expository discourse. So they also now at this stage develop syntax, which used in the conversation. Actually, this is part of the communication as well. So children apply rules based on observable phenomena. So in here, that's why children at this age, that's if you can still remember, again in this age, children are now starting to play like patintero, volleyball, and many more. And they now learn how to apply those rules. And actually, just watching how to do it, they actually learn to do it. Schooling, attention, and receptive language affect each other. So in here, actually, the attention span of a schooler or children at the school age is not yet that long, unlike in college and also in high school. So their attention in here is still up to making friends and playing. So that's why some children are not very good in class because their attention actually flies. That's why there's a joke in school that once they've arrived in school, the very first thing that they think about is what would be their food in recess. So that's why. And also their language affects how they speak and also how they interact with others is a critical point in this stage. Development of academic skills. So like language, memory, and attention. So that's why, again, like I keep on saying in my previous slide, is that their language actually, their performance or the accumulation of language and their skills and knowledge actually is great in this stage, is because they have a very good development in this stage. First 2 years of elementary schooling, reading, writing, basic math. So they're actually required to already have this in the first 2 years of their elementary school. So in our country, that's grade 1 and grade 2. So that's the basic of reading, writing, and basic math is essential that they know. Third or fourth grade, use of the fundamentals to learn increasingly complex materials. So in here, in grade 3 and in grade 4, now they are now starting to use different techniques. So some of them are now starting to know a little bit of algebra. So when I was in well, actually it's not yet algebra, but the different equations in mathematics and actually to apply it. So that's some of the things that they are now starting to learn and to understand. Intellectual activity extends beyond the classrooms. So like what I've mentioned, the intellectual activities like their tactics and techniques in playing basketball, they're now started to develop that. That's something that they don't learn in school, which is very good and something that a parent in the future, as a future parent or a sister who has a younger sibling should recognize. Capabilities of organizing and categorizing according to certain tributes without awareness of underlying principles. So now they are now aware of categorizing themselves. So if you remember that you when you were in elementary school, you were asked to identify. I mean to form a line based on height, based on age, based on school, and birthday and whatever. So that's you were able to actually organize with your classmates and organize within within in yourself what are those, and also categorize things. Becoming experts in the field of their own choosing. So like what I've said, this is the best time where you can accumulate a lot of knowledge and skills and also being experts on it. So that's why some of the children are actually joining the Voice Kids or doing ballet or taekwondo and other sports, is because this is the best time where they can develop different skills and become experts on it. Understanding conversation that progresses from numbers to mass to weight to volume. So that's why in their different subjects are now increasing during 6 to 12 years olds. Their knowledge or their subjects in schools are now being are getting difficulty each year because of that understanding and their ability to understand complex things. Next, they can solve problems when the elements of a problem are physically evident. So, in here, they can now know how to solve problems if they encountered problems. So, for example, they don't know how to open the door. Maybe they can just get a chair and actually climb to that chair and then open the door. So, they are now starting to actually think logically and think of solutions to evident problems that can be solved physically physically. Working memory is present at 6 years old, so memory is critical to cognitive development. So working memory, these are memory that are, like for example, dribbling a ball, so that's actually a working memory. Writing, that's actually a working memory. So it becomes complex throughout the years as they grow older, and this is very important at this age. So they started to have that working memory, and it increasingly becomes good as they age. Social and emotional development. So now they're being aware of their own feelings and experiences as private and distinct from those of others. So they now being aware that that's why they have this jealousy. So that's why other children are now being jealous of their sibling or of their classmates. The classmates have a very good, a cute bag, and they don't have that kind of bag. They now started to explore the surroundings and how those surroundings or their classmates have those things and they don't. Experiences can be applied for problem solving. So, for example, kapag hindi pumayag si mommy, kay daddy na lang ako magpapaalam. So, they now try to solve those kinds of uh, problem things. And so, just like that. And then empathy. For example, seeing themselves through the eyes of another person and consider the thoughts and feelings of another. So, in here, that's why some children are very good. So, before in our school, we have this GMRC, and those who are very good in class were given a star. So, because of the development of empathy, so the teachers now recognize that they were able to develop a very good empathy. So that's why we were rewarded back then. So, empathy is actually very evident as well. So, in here, the egocentrism are now, since they are now um, away from their parents and actually in school, so they are now started to have an insight that they are not away, that the world actually not revolves around them alone. So they are now shifting away from egocentrism and accompanies the development of mature communication skills and of moral standards and empathy. So that's why they now started to form friends. It's because that they now know that they are not the center of the world. They also have, or they develop moral realism rather. So the absolute sense of rules and notion of imminent punishment. So for example, if they break the rules, they will have a punishment. So that's called the moral realism. So they now recognize what are the good and the bad. So they now know that's the classroom rules, and they should follow that, or else they would be asked to stand or removed from the class. They understand now the concept of moral reciprocity rather. Moral reciprocity is the rules can be arbitrary and are important in judging the right and wrong. So rules are something that should be followed, and if they follow it, that is right, and if they don't, that is wrong. So they also have the good definition of friendship in terms of what they themselves might gain. So if they think that their friends are good to them, so that's friendship for them. And if they do good to their friends, that's something that friendship is all about. They have also the development of sense of competency and mastery of concrete skills and relationships. So like what I've mentioned a while ago, so that's why they now started to join varsities, dances, and many more. And also they were able to develop very good relationship with their teachers. They have their favorite teacher. They always approach their teacher and give them flowers and many more. So the children can consider multiple factors that enable them to evaluate themselves and perceive others' evaluation of themselves. So they know how to measure themselves, and how others see them is important. So again, they are now being aware of themselves, how they do, how are they in classes, in their performances, and are they good or bad with their friends or their classmates, and how their classmates see them is very important for them. That's why self-esteem develops in here as well. Again, self-esteem becomes a central issue, praise from parents. So in here, if they believe that if they do good in school, they have a lot of stars in their hands, they receive a very good mark at score in their quiz, they will receive an appreciation from their parents, and if their parents appreciate them, it will help their self-esteem. Also, the children during school age started now have an increasing separation from their parents and finding acceptance in the peer group and negotiating challenges in the outside world. So that's why some children are now being masungit to their parents and starting to have that attitude because of that. And also, sexual energies are channeled away towards the pursuit of socially accepted accomplishments. So in here, that's why there's no erogenous zone in according to Freud, is because now their focus is now on how they will be accepted and how they will gain a lot of awards and recognitions and appreciations from their parents, their teachers, and also from their classmates. So social and emotional development proceeds in three concepts rather contexts rather. So we have the home. So they believe that they should be accepted in the home and they would be appreciated at home. In school, they should perform in school better. They should have good friends and many more, and also in the neighborhood. So like what I've mentioned a while ago, so in here we have the home, so they have regular chores, provide an opportunity to contribute to the family in a meaningful way. Siblings play critical roles as competitors, loyal supporters, and role models. Excuse me. So in here, like what I mentioned a while ago, so their aim is actually to have a very good acceptance from their parents. So if they follow the house rules, if they tend to have a very good responsibility over the siblings, they will be recognized and many more. So next is the school development of teacher and peer relationships, allowing social competence. So in here, like what I've mentioned a while ago, so now they are now focused on their friendships with their classmates, being accepted, and being in a peer group, and many more. So also they have issues of conformity. So in here, that's why some parents have this tendency that they call some a classmate that they don't like the bad influence kasi yan. So they have this they have this notion is because of the issues of conformity of their children. So if their children actually conform to that friend, they think that what they call this ma-impluensyahan rather. And then they also have dress rehearsals. So in here, hero worship and adoption of adult-like dress and mannerisms. So in here, they now started to wear clothes like, for example, Superman. And for the girls, the little girls, they actually now tend to play as bahay-bahayan and many more. So that is dress rehearsals. All right. Wow, that's a very long, long presentation and lecture. So I hope you've understand everything. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Again, you can just chat me at our group chat or you can just leave a message here. So thank you for listening and I hope everything's clear. I'll see you on our class. Thank you. Bye for now.